name is Mike Matanti. I am a sommelier here in Chicago with over 20 years experience in restaurants and fine wine retail. I am also a co-host of a podcast called That Wine Pod. You can learn more and find me on Instagram or Twitter at Vino Mike. I'm here now with my friends from Wines on the Bluff to talk about the Pinot Noir from their very exciting Valentine's Day offering. The red wine in the package is a wonderful, very, very high-class, top-shelf Pinot Noir from one of the best producers in Oregon's Willamette Valley. The winery is called Winderlea, and the wine is their Winderlea vineyard, single vineyard from their own estate. It's in the Dundee Hills AVA, a sub-region of the Willamette Valley. And this is the 2013 vintage, one of my favorite vintages of Oregon Pinot Noir in the last decade, for sure. So we'll get into some information about the wine, but first a little history on Winderlea. It's a great story. It's a couple that owns the winery. Again, this is small family-owned winery, very small production, a boutique winery, if you will. They focus on Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and they really just fell in love with wine. They eventually decided to quit their day jobs and head on out to Oregon's Willamette Valley. You know, one of their favorite wines was Pinot Noir. They knew that's what they wanted to get into, and it was the unique climate and soils that Oregon offers that drew them to Oregon's Willamette Valley to set up their winery there and produce world-class Pinot Noir. And that is exactly what they do. So Bill Sweat and Donna Morris, they are the owners of the winery. I believe they moved there around 2006 from Boston to set up shop here. They practice and work with growers that farm the fruit through biodynamic farming. So what that means is that they have the vineyards basically work with nature in perfect harmony without the use of any outside man-made synthetics, chemicals, sprays, things like that. Everything is very natural. The vineyards are self-sustainable, and again, they work in harmony with Mother Nature, which is a really beautiful thing in Oregon, where you get a lot of vintage variation from year to year based on the unique climate that they have there. So they end up producing really elegant and very age-worthy wines. Again, this is the 2013 vintage in the package. I think that it is just entering its drinking window now. It's been delicious to drink, but now about 7 years old. I think, these wines are very age-worthy of upwards of a decade. These wines from Winderlea, which are just, they put so much love and passion, very high quality, and again, very small production. They're making the best wines that they can. The Winderlea estate I mentioned earlier is located in a sub-AVA of the Willamette Valley called the Dundee Hills. And then the Pinot Noir here, they use French oak barrels to age it, but only 28% of the oak they use is new oak. So if you think of the other way around, so what would that be? Like 72% of the oak that they use, a huge chunk, is neutral barrel, and that does not impart all of that really pronounced wood tones and wood flavors, like over the top vanilla and mocha and coffee and pepper and spices. They dial that back so it's in there like a great chef that uses seasoning just perfectly, where you notice it but it doesn't dominate or stick out or take away from other parts of the wine. So they age this for 10 months in French oak. Again, only about a quarter of it is new oak. And the production on this wine is a mere 914 cases. When talking with one of the owners, with Donna, she mentioned that this was a vintage that, basically is the reason why they moved to Oregon. for a vintage like 2013. So that is really saying something. And again, it's been one of my favorite vintages to taste from a handful of different producers, because you get this really wonderful balance between fruit and some earthiness, a little bit of spice. So let's see what we have going on in the 2013. Really gorgeous, gorgeous red fruits, red and some darker fruits as well, like some red cherry, some black cherry, just a little bit of blackberry coming out. Beautiful floral tones too, like roses, a little violet in there. Really absolutely gorgeous aromas. And then that's all layered with just a little bit of some sweet baking spice, little hint of vanilla. There's also a little bit of tea leaf coming out, which I really, really love. Kind of makes the wine smell like a little bit earthier, gives it a little bit character. Very elegant mouthfeel, light but vibrant. And when I say light, the weight of the wine on the palate, it's not too heavy, but the flavor is very full. Coats your whole palate, very, very long finish, very fresh, bright acidity that really allows that finish to be long and flavorful. You know, Pinot Noir and acidity really go hand in hand. This is a grape that should have some brightness, some backbone, and you know, a little bit of structure to it to support that fruit and the oak spices. This is just a masterpiece of balance. Just everything is right there. The alcohol is moderate. It doesn't come out, but it gives some body and some power to the wine. The acidity is, you know, puts everything into balance and harmony. The fruit, the oak, the earthiness. This is absolutely gorgeous. So I would say that you want to really enjoy this with a great, great pairing that goes well with Pinot Noir. And before I mention a couple of those, a few serving suggestions. You'll notice I have a nice, broad, bowl-shaped wine glass. These are perfect for Pinot Noir. Really allows the aromatics to come out, and it allows a larger surface area when the wine is poured in the glass. You don't want to decant Pinot Noir, at least not often. And it's a delicate wine, and sometimes decanting it, you know, decanting for a wine is a little bit rough. So the more robust wines, like a Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, those do a little bit better, and, you know, quite frankly, demand some decanting. Pinot Noir, especially like this, is nice and delicate. And you can think of, and that's why a nice big glass is important, because you can think of this as your mini decanter that you also get to drink out of and sip out of. The other thing is the temperature. Pinot Noir, you want to serve this a little bit cooler. If you have a wine cellar, perfect. If you have a temperature controlled wine fridge, maybe that sits around 55 to 60 degrees. That's a great temperature to get started, to pop the cork on. Pour yourself a nice little glass so you can check out the wine right away and enjoy it and sip on it, maybe while you're cooking, maybe while you're sitting with your honey or partner, whatever. And you know, get to know the wine a little bit right away. I would say that maybe 45 to 60 minutes of some breathing time, some oxygen, is going to really allow this to open up nicely, so that by the time you sit down to dinner, it's going to be primo. Some classic pairings with this: if you want to go seafood, a beautiful baked salmon, get some very fresh salmon. Just a simple bake or a grill with that would be a perfect pairing with this wine, or a tuna steak, something a little bit heavier. You could even go swordfish, but I just love salmon and Pinot Noir. It's very, very classic. Another great pairing is pork. You can do some pork tenderloin, some beautiful pork chops. You know, if you can incorporate in any of these proteins, you know, a nice saute of wild mushrooms. These wines have a little bit of earthiness to them, so getting something on the plate that's a little bit earthy makes for a wonderful pairing as well. And, you know, enjoy it with dinner, and then if there's any left in the bottle, just sip on that afterwards. And, you know, it's savory enough to just really enjoy on its own, but make sure you have something to go along with it. And hey, it could just be a simple charcuterie board too. So you don't have to get fancy and make a big entree here, in my opinion. Some artisanal meats and some cheeses. Nothing too soft and creamy. Nothing too hard and bitter either. Just, your middle of the road cheeses, whatever your favorites are, with some cured meats. That's going to be wonderful to sip on this wine with that as well. So, all right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Even more so, I hope that you enjoyed this wine. Happy Valentine's Day, and we'll see you next time.